My name is Anna Whitfield, 34 years old. At Easter dinner in my mother's house, 22 relatives seated, ham going cold on the table, my sister Rebecca, the golden child who could do no wrong, stood up holding a thick manila folder and announced with a sweet smile, "It's time everyone finally knew what this selfish bitch did to our dying father." My mother nodded with visible relief. My Uncle Mark froze, fork halfway to his mouth. For 6 long years, the entire family believed I was the monster who manipulated Dad in his hospital bed, forged documents, and stole $120,000 from his retirement while he fought for his life. They erased me completely. They called me a thief, a betrayer, a heartless daughter who abandoned him. They had no idea I was an estate planning attorney who had kept every single receipt, every blocked letter, every piece of irrefutable proof. And they had no idea that the man they thought I destroyed was about to walk through that front door and flip the entire table on its head. Before we go any further, if this story already has your heart racing or your blood boiling, please take a moment to like and subscribe. And drop your location and the current local time in the comments. I want to know exactly where you're listening from right now. Now, let me take you back. The dining room was arranged with surgical precision. Rebecca stood at the head of the 12-foot table, Dad's traditional seat, empty for 6 years, backlit by the afternoon sun through my mother's bay window. She'd positioned herself like a prosecutor addressing a jury. 22 people. I'd counted them when I arrived an hour earlier, had cataloged every face, every relationship, every person who'd chosen to believe her story over my silence. My mother Patricia sat at the opposite end, 63 years old, wearing the pearl necklace Dad had given her on their 30th anniversary. She'd set a place for him out of habit. Plate, fork, knife, water glass filled and waiting. Everyone pretended not to notice. It was easier to maintain the fiction that he'd simply chosen not to come, rather than confront why he wouldn't. I'd been relegated to one of the 3 folding tables set up for overflow seating. My cousins' teenagers, absorbed in their phones. Aunt Jenna's new boyfriend who didn't know the family history. The kids' table, essentially. Rebecca had arranged that too, of course. When I'd arrived and seen the seating chart, actual place cards in my mother's careful handwriting, I'd understood. This wasn't just Easter dinner. This was a stage. Uncle Mark sat at the main table, middle left, next to Dad's empty chair. Former IRS investigator, retired 3 years ago, 70 years old with the careful posture of someone who'd spent decades interrogating tax fraud. He kept glancing at his phone. At the door. At that empty chair. I'd noticed it the moment I sat down. Mark knew something. Rebecca's husband Tyler sat close to her, wearing a Rolex I'd noticed the year before Easter dinner became too toxic for me to attend. $18,000, purchased March 2020. I remembered because I track financial details the way other people track birthdays. It's an occupational hazard. Tyler's real estate investment company had supposedly been barely scraping by that year, according to Rebecca's Facebook posts, asking for prayers and positive thoughts. The briefcase sat under my chair. Oxblood leather. A gift, actually, from Dad, sent through Uncle Mark in 2021 after I'd made partner. No card, but I'd recognized his handwriting on the shipping label. I'd carried that briefcase from my Chicago apartment to Oak Park like I was walking into a deposition. Because this was a deposition, and I was the only one who'd prepared. My phone had buzzed 20 minutes ago. Unknown Indiana number. The text was simple. Almost there. Don't let her open that folder yet. I love you. Dad. I'd read it 3 times before my hands stopped shaking. Rebecca kept touching the folder on the table in front of her. Manila, about an inch thick, labeled in her neat handwriting, Whitfield Estate, P.O. a documentation. Professional, lawyerly, a performance of credibility for people who wouldn't know the difference between legitimate legal documents and well-crafted forgeries. The ham was going cold, the scalloped potatoes congealing, spring tulips in a vase on the credenza, the good china out. Everything arranged for a holiday that was about to become something else entirely. I didn't stand. I didn't speak. I waited. Because in 6 years I'd learned that the person who speaks first loses, and I'd already lost enough. I wasn't always the wrong kind of daughter. There was a time, before law school, before I chose Northwestern over staying close to home, when I thought I could be both, successful and beloved. I was 17 when I learned that in our family, you could only be one. Rebecca is 5 years older, born March 1986, which made her the firstborn, the test run, the child my parents had figured out parenting with. By the time I arrived in June 1991, they'd already decided what worked: attention for achievement, proximity over everything, and Rebecca as the template for what a good daughter looked like. She was a cheerleader, prom queen, married Tyler at 24 in a wedding that cost more than my first year of college, 3 children by 30. She lived 2.5 hours away in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but the family narrative positioned her as the daughter who stayed. I lived 25 minutes from my parents in Oak Park, worked in downtown Chicago, visited every other weekend, called 3 times a week. But distance became disloyalty in a family where Rebecca controlled the story. The pattern was set early. Rebecca's problems became family emergencies. My achievements became Anna being Anna. She doesn't need us. In 2014, Rebecca's first real estate investment failed. Tyler had over-leveraged on a commercial property that never found tenants. They needed $35,000. My parents mortgaged the house to help. I was in law school, found out months later, offered to help repay. Mom said, "It's handled. Don't worry about family business." I learned later, much later through a private investigator's report in 2023, that the $35,000 was never repaid. My parents' mortgage went from $89,000 to $124,000. They absorbed the debt. Rebecca absorbed the lesson. Parents will choose her story over facts. The family photo wall in my mother's hallway tells the story more honestly than any of us ever did. 23 photos of Rebecca's life. Wedding, babies, beach vacations, candid moments of her laughing with mom over coffee. 4 photos of me. High school graduation. College acceptance letter held up like a trophy. 1 random Christmas where I'm smiling but my eyes are looking somewhere else. And my law school graduation, where Dad's arm is around my shoulders and I'm wearing the expression of someone who's just won something but isn't sure anyone else is celebrating. I stopped expecting new photos after 2016. By the time Dad got sick in 2017, COPD first, a lifetime of smoking he'd quit in 2003, but the damage was done, then congestive heart failure that October. The architecture was already in place. Rebecca was the devoted daughter. I was the career-focused one who didn't understand family pressure. Dad was 57. Too young for this, the doctors said. But his heart didn't care about timelines. He was hospitalized 3 times that first year. Rebecca moved him to Fort Wayne, temporarily, to help Mom manage appointments. I visited every other weekend, called 3 times a week. But Rebecca's narrative, I'm the one who's here, stuck because she was the one telling it. There's a thing that happens when you're good at your job. People start to see your competence as coldness. I'd built a career at Hastings and Monroe, mid-size firm, estate planning division. I helped families protect their legacies, navigate the legal complexities of end-of-life care, prevent financial exploitation. I was good at it. Meticulous, detail-oriented, professional. Rebecca used that against me. Anna only cares about paperwork and legalities. She can't just be a daughter, she has to be an attorney. She positioned my expertise as emotional distance, my professional restraint as lack of love, and the family, comfortable with Rebecca's version of reality, accepted it. I didn't fight the narrative. Fighting makes you look defensive. I'd learned that in litigation training. So I stayed quiet, visited Dad when I could, helped Mom with insurance paperwork, and watched my sister slowly rewrite my relationship with my father in real time. The irony is that my specialty was elder financial exploitation. I'd spent 3 years building cases against caregivers, family members, trusted advisors who'd manipulated vulnerable seniors out of money, property, dignity. I'd won a $2.3 million judgment in 2021 against a caregiver who'd systematically drained a 78-year-old client's accounts. I just never thought I'd need to build a case against my own sister. Not until October 2018. Dad was admitted to Northwestern Memorial Hospital on October 11th. Severe breathing difficulty, fluid around his heart, COPD exacerbation complicated by congestive heart failure. They put him in room 814 with an oxygen mask and told us it was serious but manageable if he followed treatment protocols. I arrived from work still wearing my suit. Rebecca had driven the 2.5 hours from Fort Wayne, was already there playing dutiful daughter for the nurses. Mom looked exhausted and scared in the way that made her smaller, like she was trying not to take up space in the room. Tyler was in the waiting room with his laptop, taking calls about some property deal. Dad was lucid, tired, scared, but clear-eyed in a way that made me think he'd been waiting for me to arrive before saying what he needed to say. Anna. His voice was muffled by the oxygen mask, but firm. You understand this stuff. The legal things? If something happens to me, I need someone who won't panic. I want you to have power of attorney. Rebecca's face when he said my name. Not surprise. Calculation. The social worker brought forms on October 13th. Dad insisted. He explained his reasoning. She knows law. She'll ask the right questions. She won't let anyone take advantage. I wanted to help. Of course I wanted to help. But I also knew it was ethically complicated. Dad, I appreciate the trust, I said, sitting on the edge of his hospital bed, careful not to disturb the IV line. But I work in estate planning. If I act as your power of attorney and make financial decisions, it could be seen as a conflict of interest. I think you should choose someone neutral, or at least, let me connect you with a professional fiduciary. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. I have the phone log proving I called my managing partner Judith Brennan immediately after for ethics guidance. She confirmed what I already knew. Technically permissible, but professionally risky. Better to decline. In the hallway, Rebecca was on her phone, pacing. I heard fragments. If she gets control of his money. I drafted a formal declination letter on October 15th. Had it notarized at the hospital's patient services office. Carol Hendricks, Notary Public. Stamp number 381925556, 11:20 a.m. I gave one copy to Dad, filed one with my firm, sent one to Mom's address where Dad's mail went. The letter was clear. Due to professional ethics guidelines governing fiduciary relationships, I respectfully decline to serve as power of attorney. I recommend appointment of a professional fiduciary or neutral third party. This decision is made in Dad's best interest to avoid any appearance of impropriety. Dad understood. He kissed my forehead, said, "You're the good one, Anna." 2 weeks later, I'd be accused of being the opposite. What I didn't know? What I wouldn't discover until 2022? When I hired a private investigator named Vincent Graves and paid $12,000 for the truth, was that 3 days after my declination, Rebecca obtained a blank POA form, created a revised version dated October 18th, and used a signature stamp she'd gotten from Mom's house to forge Dad's signature. James had kept a signature stamp for years, insurance paperwork mostly. It was easier than hand-signing dozens of forms when his arthritis flared up. Mom kept it in the desk in the study. Second drawer, right side. Rebecca knew exactly where it was. She filed the forged POA with Heartland Credit Union in Fort Wayne on October 22nd. The document listed her as having power of attorney, but in the fine print, the part most bank tellers don't read carefully, she'd used my name as the authorized agent. Clever. It gave her access while creating a paper trail that pointed to me. The withdrawals started immediately. October 22nd, $15,000. Branch records show a woman matching Rebecca's description, but the withdrawal slip has POAA Whitfield noted in the authorization field. November 3rd, $28,000. Same branch, same pattern. November 8th, $31,000. November 12th, $46,000. Total, $120,000 over 25 days. Dad's entire retirement account, built over 30 years of careful saving, gone in less than a month. Every withdrawal happened at the Fort Wayne branch. Not one occurred within 50 miles of my Chicago residence or place of employment. I would discover this detail on page 56 of Vincent Graves' report, accompanied by bank security footage stills time-stamped and dated. November 12th, 2:47 p.m. A woman, 5'7", blonde hair, matching Rebecca's description, presenting POA documentation, withdrawing $46,000 via bank check. Her silver Honda Pilot visible in the parking lot. Indiana plate KLM 8834, registered to R. Whitfield. I have watched that footage 17 times. Rebecca smiled at the teller. Made small talk about the weather. Withdrew our father's life savings like she was depositing a check. The audio is clear. My father asked me to handle this while he recovers. He's so grateful to have family he can trust. I didn't know any of this in November 2018. I was busy building cases for clients worth millions, blind to the one being constructed against me. The first call that didn't connect came on November 15th. I'd been calling Dad's cell regularly since his discharge from the hospital on October 20th. Same number he'd had for 8 years, the one I'd programmed into my phone under Dad's cell with a photo of us at my law school graduation. Every call for 2 weeks had gone through. We'd talked about his recovery, his medication schedule, whether he was following the low-sodium diet his cardiologist had prescribed. November 15th, 7:43 p.m. I called, straight to voicemail. I tried Mom's house line. Rebecca answered. Dad doesn't want to talk to you. Don't call again. The floor dropped out from under me. What? Why? What happened? You know what you did. Don't play innocent. Rebecca, I have no idea what you're talking about. Put Dad on. He's resting. And he said if you called, I should tell you he's done. He knows about the money, Anna. He knows everything. The call lasted 1 minute, 32 seconds. I saved it. I saved everything. The email came the next day. From Dad's address, james.whitfield1960@gmail.com, the account he'd set up when he retired and started doing more online banking. The subject line, Dad, what's going on? I'd sent 3 increasingly frantic emails the night before. His response was surgical. Anna, I trusted you with my financial future. You manipulated my illness and took advantage. I have bank records showing you withdrew $120,000. I don't want contact. Please respect my wishes. The email was sent November 16th, 10:22 p.m. I wouldn't discover until Vincent's IP address trace in 2023 that it originated from Rebecca's home network in Fort Wayne, not the assisted living facility where Dad was supposedly staying. She'd sent it from his account. He never saw my emails, never wrote that response. My 6-paragraph reply, explaining the declination, attaching the notarized letter, begging him to look at the dates, bounced back, email address deactivated. I drove to Oak Park on November 18th. Sunday afternoon. The trees already bare. The street where I grew up looking smaller than I remembered. Mom answered the door. Wouldn't let me in. Your father is in Indiana, recovering. He doesn't want to see you. Rebecca explained everything. Mom, I didn't take any money. I have proof. I declined the POA. I can show you. Anna. Rebecca showed me the bank statements. Your name is on the withdrawals. Why are you lying? Because someone forged my name. Mom, please, this doesn't make sense. What doesn't make sense is you stealing from your sick father and then trying to blame your sister. Patricia stood in the doorway, hand on the frame, physically blocking entry. Behind her, I could see Rebecca's coat on the rack, Rebecca's car in the driveway. Rebecca was inside, listening. As I turned to leave, I looked up. Second floor, guest bedroom window. Rebecca watching. Not upset. Satisfied. Thanksgiving came 4 days later. I wasn't invited for the first time in 34 years. I drove past the house anyway. Couldn't help myself. Parked down the block at 4:30 in the afternoon. Watched through the lit windows. Rebecca at the head of the table in Dad's spot. Tyler, Mom, Uncle Mark, cousins. The whole extended family. The empty chair where I should have been wasn't even set. The table was arranged for exactly the number of people they'd invited, and I wasn't a missing piece. I was just gone. I'd made Dad's favorite pie that morning. Chocolate pecan, the recipe he'd taught me when I was 12. I left it on the porch, rang the doorbell, drove away. I found out later from a cousin who still talked to me that Rebecca threw it away. Told everyone, we don't accept food from thieves. Uncle Mark came outside as I was pulling away, made eye contact through my rearview mirror. Didn't wave, didn't stop me, went back inside. Over the next 2 weeks, Rebecca built her story. She told the family I'd manipulated Dad while he was sedated in the ICU, convinced him to sign power of attorney because I was the responsible daughter with legal expertise, then systematically drained his retirement account while he was too weak to stop me. When he discovered what happened, she said, I'd disappeared. Cut him off completely. Refused to return his calls. She showed selective bank records, the ones with my forged name. A witness statement from Tyler claiming he'd seen me pressure Dad in the hospital. A timeline that proved my access and opportunity. The narrative was perfect. And I, with no access to my father and no proof anyone would believe, went silent. By December 2018, the family had chosen their truth. And I'd learned something every litigator knows. You can't win a case when the other side controls all the witnesses, all the evidence, and the judge. Rebecca had turned my family into her courtroom, and I'd been convicted without ever getting to testify. I stopped fighting in December because fighting would have made me look guilty. Instead, I started documenting. The letters began in January 2019. Every week at first, then monthly. I kept them short, loving, free of accusations or defenses. Just, I love you. I miss you. I hope you're well. January 15th, 2019. Dad, I don't know if you're reading this, but I wanted you to know I'm thinking about you. The weather here is cold. I hope you're staying warm. I love you. Anna. I used certified mail when I could afford it. Proof of delivery. Proof I tried. March 20th, 2019. Dad, it's the first day of spring. I remember you always said this was your favorite season, everything coming back to life. I hope you're feeling stronger. Anna. June 14th, 2019. Happy birthday, Dad. You're 59 today. I'm sitting in my apartment with the photo of us from my law school graduation. I'm proud to be your daughter. If you ever want to reach me, my number is 312-555-50-147. I love you. Anna. 63 letters over 6 years. Each one logged in a spreadsheet. Date sent, delivery confirmation number, whether it was certified or standard mail. 18 of them were certified. I have every receipt, every signature confirmation, all signed by R. Whitfield at Mom's address. Rebecca was signing for my letters to our father and keeping them from him. 0 responses, not one. I started checking obituaries weekly, terrified I'd find out he'd died and no one had told me. Work became the place I disappeared into. Made junior partner in 2021 at 30, unusually young. My specialty in financial elder abuse gave me a reputation for meticulous documentation, forensic financial analysis, airtight case building. I won large judgments, testified as expert witness, got promoted to senior partner in 2023. A client once, elderly man whose son had forged power of attorney, looked at me after I won his case and said, "You fight like someone who knows what it costs to lose." I went to my car and cried for 20 minutes. The information I scraped together came in fragments. I created a fake Facebook account. Rebecca had blocked me years ago and watched her posts. March 2021. Sunday dinner with Dad. So grateful for this time together. Family is everything. #blessed, #family first. The photo showed Rebecca, Tyler, Mom, and Dad. He looked thin, older than he should have, always slightly behind Rebecca in the frame, never looking directly at the camera. But he was alive. First confirmation in 2.5 years. I screenshot every photo, built a timeline, tracked Rebecca's purchases through public records. New house in 2020, $485,000. Tyler's LLC filed bankruptcy in 2019, refiled in 2020, took out a $340,000 business loan in 2021. The pattern was there if you knew how to look. September 2022, I made the decision that would change everything. I hired Vincent Graves. Retired FBI white-collar crime investigator, 22 years in financial fraud. His rate was $300 an hour plus $12,000 retainer. "You're a lawyer," he said in our first meeting, a coffee shop in the Loop where I'd brought a folder 3 inches thick. "You know this might not be legally actionable if he's not declared incompetent." "I don't need actionable," I said. "I need truth. Documented, irrefutable, time-stamped truth. Because one day, I'm going to have the chance to show him, and I need to be ready." Vincent delivered his report in March 2023. 83 pages documenting everything: Rebecca's forged POA, withdrawal patterns matching her real estate investments, IP address traces showing Dad's emails came from Rebecca's house, phone records of my blocked numbers, certified mail tracking showing letters delivered to Mom's address but never forwarded. Page 74. Subject: Rebecca Whitfield maintained physical control of mail delivery to James Whitfield's assisted living residence via USPS mail forwarding service, registered November 2018, renewed annually. All mail addressed to J. Whitfield routed to R. Whitfield's residence, Fort Wayne, Indiana. She'd convinced Dad to sign a mail forwarding form, told him it was temporary to help manage his bills while you recover. Then never canceled it. Every letter I sent went to her house first. April 2023, I hired Daniel Schroeder, forensic accountant. His job: map every dollar of the $120,000. Where it went. When. Who benefited. November 8th, 2018. $28,000 withdrawal. November 9th. $28,000 wire transfer to Midwest Property Ventures LLC, Tyler's company. November 12th, 2018. $46,000 withdrawal. November 15th. Down payment on Rebecca's Lexus RX, $44,000. Daniel's conclusion. Page 22 of his report. No withdrawals occurred at institutions within 50 miles of Anna Whitfield's residence or place of employment. All transactions occurred at Heartland Credit Union, Fort Wayne branch, using POA documentation filed under Rebecca Whitfield's account access. I had proof. 83 pages from a former FBI investigator, 22 pages from a forensic accountant, 18 certified mail receipts, copies of all 63 letters, the notarized POA declination. I just had no access to the person who needed to see it. 2023 became 2024. I kept sending letters. Monthly now, the hope dimming but the routine unbreakable. Promoted again, department head, the youngest in the firm's history. Built a life around the hole where my father used to be. March 1st, 2025, I sent letter 63. My handwriting shakier now. 6 years of silence had eroded the certainty that he'd ever read them. But I wrote anyway, because stopping would have meant accepting that Rebecca had won. March 10th, my phone rang. Unknown Indiana number. I answered. Background noise, hospital sounds, someone talking in the distance, then a hang-up. I called back. Disconnected number. I didn't know it was Dad, given his phone back briefly by a nurse, trying to remember my number. Dialing wrong. I didn't know that everything was about to change. The briefcase I carried to Easter dinner had been packed at 6 a.m. that morning. Every document in protective sleeves, color-coded tabs, chronological order. This wasn't hope. This was preparation for war. Tab 1, red. Original POA, declination, notarized October 15th, 2018. Tab 2, blue. Vincent Graves' investigative report, 83 pages, March 2023. Tab 3, green. Daniel Schroeder forensic analysis, 22 pages, April 2023. Tab 4, yellow. Certified mail receipts, 18 total, 2019 through 2025. Tab 5, orange. Copies of all 63 letters, chronological order. Tab 6, purple. Rebecca's forged POA document, obtained through PI subpoena. Tab 7, black. Timeline comparison chart. Withdrawals versus Rebecca's major purchases, color-coded by date, amount, recipient. The briefcase itself was oxblood leather, the one Dad had sent when I made partner. His handwriting on the shipping label. No card. But I knew. I'd also packed a voice recorder. Small, digital, high quality. Because I knew Rebecca would perform, and I wanted every word documented. The documents Rebecca didn't know existed were the ones that would destroy her. Bank security footage, time-stamped, showing her making withdrawals, not me. USPS mail intercept documentation proving she'd controlled Dad's mail for 6 years. Phone records showing my numbers blocked on Dad's phone. Setup date November 16th, 2018. Authorization from Rebecca as POA. The affidavits alone could have ended her. 6 of them, notarized, dated, signed. Carol Hendricks, the notary who'd witnessed my POA declination. Judith Brennan, my managing partner, confirming the ethics consultation. 3 colleagues who'd received my emails about declining POA in October 2018. Vincent Graves, attesting to investigation findings. Daniel Schroeder, professional opinion on fraud pattern, a wall of credibility. I'd also prepared one more document, a criminal complaint for forgery and fraud, pre-written, dated, signed, ready to file with the Illinois State Attorney General. Rebecca wasn't a lawyer, but forging POA documents and filing them with financial institutions qualified as fraud. I was giving her one chance to confess. If not, nuclear option. I'd spent 6 years building this case like I was prosecuting a federal crime, because in a way, I was. Rebecca had stolen more than money. She'd stolen my father, my family, my name. And I'd documented every lie, every forgery, every intercepted letter. The text from Dad came at 4:10 p.m., 20 minutes before Rebecca stood up. Almost there. Don't let her open that folder yet. I love you. I read it 3 times before my hands stopped shaking. 3 weeks earlier, on March 17th, a woman named Carolyn Morrison changed everything. She was a cardiac care social worker at Lakeside Cardiac Recovery Center in Fort Wayne. Dad had been admitted in February with a congestive heart failure exacerbation, not hospice, not dying, but recovering, managing a chronic condition that required monitoring and medication adjustment. Carolyn's job included discharge planning. Part of that involved cataloging patient belongings, making sure everything was accounted for before release, standard protocol. She found the box in Dad's closet during inventory. Cardboard taped shut with 3 layers of packing tape, labeled in Rebecca's handwriting, J. Whitfield, personal storage, stored November 2018. Hospital policy required contents to be cataloged. Carolyn opened it. Inside, 63 envelopes, addressed to James Whitfield. Return address: Anna Whitfield, Chicago, Illinois. Dates ranging from January 2019 through March 2025. Most unopened. Some opened. Rebecca had checked the contents apparently, then resealed with tape. Carolyn read one. June 2020, Father's Day. Dad, happy Father's Day and happy birthday. You're 60 today. I hope you're surrounded by people who love you. I don't know if you're reading these, but I'm going to keep writing them until you tell me to stop. If you ever want to reach me, my number is 312-555-0147. I miss our Sunday morning calls. I miss your terrible jokes. I miss you believing in me. Whatever I'm supposed to have done, I didn't do it. I love you. Always. Anna. She checked the facility's visitors log. Anna Whitfield was listed on the blocked visitors list, added November 2018, noted as patient request, no contact authorized. 63 letters over 6 years didn't look like no contact desired. It looked like something else entirely. Carolyn brought the box to Dad on the afternoon of March 17th. He was having a good day, lucid and alert, sitting up in bed reading the newspaper. Mr. Whitfield, I found these during discharge inventory. They're addressed to you. I think you should see them. He looked confused. Letters? From Anna? But Rebecca said Anna doesn't want contact. That Anna? Sir, there are 63 letters here, spanning 6 years. That doesn't look like doesn't want contact to me. I think you should read them yourself. He read for 3 hours. Carolyn stayed, watching his face move through confusion, grief, dawning rage. He read all 63, some twice. When he finished, he looked at her with eyes wet and voice steady. I need to get to Illinois. Easter is in a month. Can you help me? Over the next 4 weeks, they planned. Dad couldn't confront Rebecca alone. She controlled his living situation, what little money remained, his access to the family. But Easter was coming. Mom was hosting in Oak Park. Rebecca would be there. And Anna. Carolyn helped him get my current number from the letters. I'd confirmed through Aunt Jenna's awkward phone call that I'd be attending. A peace gesture that felt more like showing up to my own execution. April 19th, 8 p.m. My phone rang. Unknown number. Anna, it's Dad. Don't hang up. I couldn't speak. 6 years of silence, and here was his voice, rougher than I remembered, older, but unmistakably him. I read your letters. All of them. I know what Rebecca did. Carolyn's driving me down tomorrow. I'll be there by 4:30. Don't let her open that folder before I walk in. Can you do that for me? Dad? It was all I could manage. I'm so sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. I'll explain everything tomorrow. I love you. The call lasted 11 minutes. I recorded it. Couldn't help myself. I recorded everything now. He told me he loved me 8 times in 11 minutes, like he was trying to make up for 6 years in one conversation. April 20th, 6 a.m., Carolyn Morrison drove James Whitfield from Fort Wayne to Oak Park. 2.5 hours, I-65 south to I-90 east, early enough to avoid traffic. Dad brought the box of letters as evidence. Carolyn parked 2 blocks from Mom's house at 4:25 p.m. "I'll be right here when you're ready to leave," she told him. A stranger was about to give me back my father, a social worker who'd found 63 letters during routine inventory and chose truth over protocol, who took a personal day to drive a cardiac patient to confront his family, who waited in her car while he walked into the room where I'd been convicted without trial. Rebecca's folder was theater. That's what I understood the moment she stood up. She'd positioned herself perfectly. Backlit. Folder held high. Mom in her sightline for support. Uncle Mark where he could see everything. The extended family arranged in concentric circles of relationship and judgment. "Before we say grace," she began, voice steady, practiced, "there's something I need to share. Something I've kept quiet about for too long, out of respect for Dad's wishes. But he's not here, and Anna is. And I think everyone deserves to know the truth about why our family fell apart." She opened the folder, started pulling out documents, passing them around the table. First, the forged POA, dated October 18, 2018, with my name listed as authorized agent. It looked real, professional, notarized. She'd found a notary willing to backdate, apparently, or forged that too. Second, bank statements from Heartland Credit Union showing withdrawals with POA A. Whitfield notations. October 22nd through November 12th. 4 transactions totaling $120,000. Third, an affidavit from Tyler claiming he'd witnessed me pressuring Dad in the hospital, telling him he needed to sign documents while he was barely conscious. Fourth, a timeline she'd created, printed on cardstock, showing my opportunity and access during Dad's hospitalization. The document circulated. Cousins murmured. Aunt Jenna looked at me with something between pity and disgust. Rebecca's voice broke on cue. October 18th, 2018. Anna filed power of attorney, claiming Dad requested it while sedated. November 2018. Withdrawals begin. 15,000, 28,000, 31,000, 46,000. Dad's entire retirement savings gone in 1 month. When he discovered it, Anna cut off all contact rather than face him. Mom's face, vindicated, like she'd known all along and was finally hearing someone else say it. Tyler nodding solemnly beside Rebecca, playing the supportive husband, conveniently forgetting that his business had received $28,000 of that stolen money. Rebecca crying now, performance tears, the kind that come with practiced ease. I didn't want to believe it. She's my sister. But the evidence. Cousin Bradley spoke up. "Anna, is this true? Did you really—" Aunt Jenna. "Anna, why didn't you defend yourself?" 6 years of silence. Rebecca, voice breaking perfectly. "Because she can't. Because it's true. And she knows it." My hands were under the table, gripping the briefcase handle. 6 years of preparation compressed into oxblood leather. I could end this now. Pull out the receipts, the PI report, the forensic analysis, destroy her in front of everyone. But Dad had said wait, so I sat there, silent, while Rebecca performed the climax of a story she'd been rehearsing for 6 years. She'd built her case beautifully. Forged documents, fake witness, timeline that made me look guilty, tears at exactly the right moment. There was just one thing she didn't know. The front door opened, everyone turned. James Whitfield, 65 years old, thin, oxygen cannula in his nose, small portable tank on a wheeled cart, stood in the doorway of Patricia's dining room. The room went silent. Mom dropped her fork. The sound of metal on china impossibly loud. Rebecca's face drained of every drop of color. "Rebecca," Dad said, quiet but clear, voice steady despite the oxygen. Put that folder down. Uncle Mark stood up so fast his chair scraped. Patricia made a sound like she'd been punched. Cousin Bradley's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Rebecca didn't put the folder down. She was frozen, holding it against her chest like a shield that had suddenly turned to paper. "Dad," she managed, voice shaking. "You shouldn't have driven. Your heart. You need to rest. Let me." "I didn't drive," Dad said, stepping into the room, wheeling the oxygen cart. "Carolyn brought me. She's waiting outside. And I'm not confused, Rebecca. I've been confused for 6 years. I'm clear now." He looked around the table. At Mom, pale and rigid. At Uncle Mark, standing like he was at attention. At the cousins, the extended family, the 22 witnesses to what was about to become either my vindication or my final condemnation. Then he looked at me. Our eyes met for the first time in 6 years, 5 months, and 5 days. His face broke, just for half a second. Grief and love and apology compressed into one expression before he hardened again. "Anna," he said, "come here." I stood, moved around the folding table, past the teenagers who'd gone silent, past Aunt Jenna who looked like she was watching a car accident, past Tyler who was inching toward the door. Rebecca stepped into my path. "Dad, you don't understand. She's manipulated you again. Move," Dad said. Not loud, but absolute. Rebecca moved. I reached him. He pulled me into a one-armed hug, the other hand on the oxygen cart for balance. He smelled like Old Spice and hospital soap and the father I thought I'd lost forever. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I should have trusted you." "You didn't know," I whispered back. "You couldn't have known. I should have questioned why you'd suddenly go silent. I should have... We'll talk later. Right now, let's finish this." He released me, turned to the table. "For 6 years," he said, addressing the room. "Rebecca told me Anna had stolen my money and abandoned me. She showed me bank statements. She read me emails she said were from Anna, saying Anna didn't want contact. She controlled my phone, my mail, my visitors. I believed her because she's my daughter and I didn't think she'd lie." Patricia found her voice. "James, what are you saying?" "I'm saying 3 weeks ago, a social worker found a box in my closet, 63 letters from Anna, birthday cards, Father's Day cards, Christmas cards. Letters telling me she loved me, asking why I wouldn't talk to her, begging to know what she'd done wrong. 6 years of letters I never knew existed." He reached into his jacket, the brown one I'd given him for his 60th birthday, the one I'd wondered if he still had, and pulled out an envelope. March 2025. My handwriting. Because Rebecca hid them. The number landed like a physical thing. 63. The room absorbed it. That wasn't neglect. That was a campaign. Rebecca's mouth opened. "Dad, those letters. I was protecting you. She was trying to manipulate." "Show them what's really in that folder," Dad said. "Not the performance version. The truth." I lifted my briefcase onto the table. The oxblood leather looked dark against the white tablecloth, set it down right in front of Rebecca's manila folder. "My turn," I said. I opened the briefcase, removed the first document, tab 1, red. Held it up so everyone could see the notary stamp. "This is my formal declination of power of attorney," I said, voice steady, attorney mode fully engaged. Dated October 15th, 2018. Notarized by Carol Hendricks at Northwestern Memorial Hospital at 11:20 a.m., 3 days before Rebecca claims I filed POA. I passed it to Uncle Mark. "You investigated financial fraud for 22 years. Check the notary stamp. Check the date." Mark examined it, looked up at Rebecca. "This is legitimate. Notary stamp, seal, Signature. Dated October 15th. My managing partner, Judith Brennan, can confirm I consulted her about the ethical implications before declining. I continued. I have 3 colleagues who received emails from me that week explaining my decision. I declined because serving as Dad's POA while working as an estate planning attorney created a conflict of interest. Cousin Bradley, but the bank statements show your name on the withdrawals. They show my name, I said. They don't show me. I pulled out tab 6, the forged POA, set it beside my declination. This is the document Rebecca filed with Heartland Credit Union on October 22nd. Obtained through private investigator subpoena. Notice the date, October 18th. 3 days after my declination. The signature matches a signature stamp, not Dad's actual handwriting. Forensic analysis confirms it. Rebecca had access to that stamp. It was kept in Mom's desk for insurance paperwork. I pulled out tab 3, Daniel Schroeder's forensic analysis. This is a timeline of every withdrawal. All occurred at Heartland Credit Union, Fort Wayne branch. Not one within 50 miles of my residence or workplace. I laid out the comparison chart, color-coded. Dates matched perfectly. November 8th, $28,000 withdrawal. November 9th, $28,000 wire transfer to Midwest Property Ventures, LLC, Tyler's company. Tyler was already halfway to the door. Rebecca grabbed his arm. Tyler, don't. But he was done. He walked out. Left her there alone. November 12th, $46,000 withdrawal. I continued. November 15th, down payment on Rebecca's Lexus RX. $44,000. The Lexus she drove here today. I pulled out the bank security footage stills. Time-stamped. Clear images of Rebecca at the teller window. This is Rebecca making the withdrawal on November 12th at 2:47 p.m. Not me, Rebecca. The photographs circulated. You could see her face, see her smiling, see her signing the withdrawal slip. Aunt Jenna picked up one of the stills, read the timestamp, looked at Rebecca. You did this? Rebecca started. Dad was confused. He needed help. Someone had to forge legal documents and steal his retirement savings? Uncle Mark's voice was cold. Rebecca, I've investigated fraud cases for 22 years. I know what this is. This is systematic financial exploitation, and you framed your sister for it. I pulled out tab 2, Vincent Graves's 83-page report. I hired a private investigator in 2022, I said. Former FBI, white-collar crime division. This report documents everything. The forged POA. Rebecca's mail forwarding setup. She convinced Dad to sign a form in November 2018, told him it was temporary to help manage bills, then never canceled it. Every letter I sent went to her house first. I showed them page 74, the USPS documentation. She controlled his mail for 6 years, renewed the forwarding annually, made sure he never saw my letters. Dad stepped forward with the cardboard box, set it on the table, opened it. 63 envelopes spilled out. I never saw these until 3 weeks ago, he said. 63 letters my daughter sent me, begging to know why I wouldn't speak to her. Aunt Jenna picked up the June 2020 letter, read it aloud, voice breaking. Dad, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but it's your birthday, and I wanted you to know I think about you every day. I miss you so much it hurts. Whatever I did to lose you, I'd do anything to fix it. Please, just tell me what I did. Anna. She was crying now. Rebecca, is this true? Rebecca tried one more defense. I was protecting him. Anna would have manipulated. With what? I pulled out tab 4, 18 certified mail receipts. These prove I was trying to reach him. You signed for everyone, your signature, your handwriting. I held them up, showed the room. Receipt dated June 14th, 2019. Signed by R. Whitfield. December 24th, 2020. A Christmas card. Signed by R. Whitfield. February 14th, 2022. March 1st, 2025. 3 weeks ago. While Dad was reading the hidden letters and discovering the truth, Rebecca was still intercepting new ones. The evidence was overwhelming now. Documents covering the table, photographs, reports, letters, receipts. Rebecca looked around the room, found no support. Everyone was staring at her with dawning horror. Uncle Mark spoke, voice quiet but carrying. 2 days ago, I received a call from FBI agent Jennifer Harding, White Collar Crime Division. Rebecca, you and Tyler are under investigation for real estate fraud. Separate case. But when she asked if I knew anything about your financial history, I told her I'd had suspicions for years. Your lifestyle never matched your income. Tyler's business failed repeatedly, but you kept buying new cars, new houses. I didn't know about Dad's money until tonight. But I'm not surprised. Rebecca's last defense crumbled. That's Tyler's business. I didn't. You were co-owner of the LLC. Your signature is on the documents. You're already in federal trouble. This, he gestured at the table, just makes it worse. Patricia finally spoke. Rebecca, what have you done? And Rebecca, cornered with nowhere left to go, broke. I needed the money, she said, voice ragged. Tyler's business was failing. We had the kids, the mortgage. I thought I'd pay it back, but then everything spiraled and I couldn't tell Dad because he'd hate me, and it was easier to make Anna the bad guy because she wasn't here. She couldn't defend herself, and everyone already thought she was cold anyway. She'd confessed, in front of 22 people, on my voice recorder still running in my pocket. 6 years of lies, destroyed in one admission. The silence that followed was absolute. Rebecca stood there, mascara running, holding her folder of forged documents against her chest like they could still save her. They couldn't. Mom sat frozen at the end of the table, her face the color of old newspaper. Uncle Mark remained standing, solid as a wall, former investigator watching a confession he'd seen coming. I pulled out one more document, the criminal complaint, pre-written, ready to file. I wrote this 3 months ago, I said, showing Rebecca. Formal complaint for forgery, fraud, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, identity theft, mail fraud. I've been carrying it, waiting to see if you'd ever tell the truth. You just did, in front of witnesses. Her eyes went wide. Anna, please. I'm giving you one choice, I said. You confess everything to the state attorney. You return what's left of the $120,000. I know there's only about $9,000 in the account you transferred it to. You sell the Lexus. Proceeds go to Dad. You make monthly payments until you've repaid at least half. And you agree to supervised, zero contact with Dad unless he specifically requests otherwise. Or, I file this tomorrow, call Agent Harding myself, and let the federal system handle you. You have 60 seconds. The countdown was silent, but everyone felt it. 30 seconds. Rebecca looking around for help that didn't come. 45 seconds. Tyler was gone. Mom was staring at her hands. The cousins were backing away like proximity to Rebecca might contaminate them. 60 seconds. I'll do it, Rebecca whispered. I'll confess. I'll pay it back. Just don't file the complaint, please. Uncle Mark oversees the repayment, I said. Monthly audits. You miss one payment, I file immediately. Agreed? Agreed. I looked at Dad. He was holding the edge of the table, knuckles white, breathing harder than he should be. But his voice was steady. You'll see me when I allow it, he told Rebecca. You'll speak when I ask you to. You'll earn back every second of trust you destroyed. And if you lie to me one more time, Rebecca, you're done. Do you understand? Yes, Dad. Patricia stood, walked over to Rebecca, and for a moment, I thought she might comfort her, but she didn't. How could you? She said, voice small and broken. How could you do this to your father? To your sister? You knew. Rebecca's voice rose desperate. You knew I was struggling. You let me handle his money. You. I trusted you, Patricia said, stepping back. I chose to trust you. That's on me. But this. She gestured at the evidence covering the table. This is on you. The dinner was over. No one ate. The ham sat cold and untouched. The tulips wilted in their vase. The good china held nothing but the weight of 6 years of lies finally exposed. People started leaving. Quietly. Cousins gathered their children. Aunt Jenna hugged me on her way out, whispered, I'm so sorry we didn't question it. Uncle Mark stayed, stood beside Dad like a guardian. I'll handle the financial oversight, he told me, and I'll testify to anything you need. I should have done this years ago. You're doing it now, I said. That's what matters. Rebecca sat alone at the table where she'd planned her triumph, the folder of forged documents still open in front of her, the empty chair where Tyler had been, the family she'd controlled with lies, scattered and gone. Mom approached me as I was helping Dad to the door. Anna, she said, I'm sorry, You should have believed me, I said. You should have asked questions. You should have wondered why I'd suddenly go silent. You chose her story because it was easier. That's not something I can forgive right now. Maybe someday. But not today. She nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't ask for more than I could give. I walked my father out to where Carolyn was waiting in her car. A stranger who'd shown more loyalty than blood. Thank you, I told her. For finding the letters. For driving him. For waiting. Thank you. He talked about you the whole drive, she said. He loves you very much. Dad got in the front seat. I leaned through the window. Come stay with me, I said. Chicago. My apartment has a second bedroom. You shouldn't go back to Fort Wayne. Not yet. I'd like that, he said. I followed them back to Chicago in my own car, the briefcase on the passenger seat, evidence of a case I'd won without ever having to file. 6 years I'd waited to hear the truth spoken aloud. And when it came, it wasn't my voice saying it. It was Rebecca's. She'd built the lie so carefully, performed it so well, controlled it so completely. But lies only hold when everyone agrees to believe them. And in that room, with my father standing beside me, with 83 pages of proof on the table, with 63 letters bearing witness, the agreement shattered. The truth was louder than her tears. The months that followed were both harder and easier than I'd imagined. Dad moved into my spare bedroom in Chicago the day after Easter. We cleared out the boxes I'd been using it for storage, old case files, law school textbooks I'd never use again, the accumulated debris of a life built around absence. He brought almost nothing with him. A suitcase of clothes, his medications, the brown jacket, the box of letters. We didn't talk about Rebecca for the first week. We just existed together. I made coffee in the mornings. He sat at my kitchen table reading the newspaper like he used to at home. We watched old westerns in the evenings, his favorite, the ones I'd grown up watching with him on Sunday afternoons. Slowly, we filled in 6 years. He told me about Fort Wayne, the assisted living facility that was clean but lonely. Rebecca's visits that always felt off in a way he couldn't articulate. The fog of confusion when people mentioned me. He'd ask when I was coming to visit and be told, "She doesn't want to see you, Dad. She's moved on." I never believed it entirely, he said one morning in May, both of us sitting on my small balcony with coffee. Part of me kept thinking, that's not my Anna. But Rebecca had so much proof. documents, statements. She showed me emails supposedly from you saying terrible things. And I was tired, Anna. So tired and scared, and the chemo for the cancer scare in 2020 made everything fuzzy. It was easier to believe her than to fight. Cancer? I said, cup halfway to my mouth. Small cell. Caught early. Remission by 2021. Rebecca said she told you and you didn't care. Another lie I hadn't known about. Another piece of my father's life stolen. We cooked together. I asked him to teach me his lasagna recipe, the one I'd requested for years but never learned. June 15th, we spent 3 hours in my kitchen, him walking me through every step, writing it out on a recipe card in handwriting that shook more than it used to, but was still unmistakably his. Dated June 15th, 2025. He wrote at the bottom, "For Anna, who never stopped trying." I framed that card. It hangs in my kitchen still. Rebecca tried to visit 3 times, May, July, October. Each supervised by Uncle Mark in neutral locations, coffee shops, parks, public places where she couldn't control the narrative. The conversations were strained, surface level. July. Dad, I know I can't undo what I did, but I want you to know I'm getting help. Therapy. Financial counseling. That's good, Rebecca. I hope it helps you. Silence. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I don't know. Ask me in a year. If I have a year? She paid the restitution monthly. $800. Meager but consistent. Uncle Mark confirmed every payment, tracked every dollar. The Lexus sold for $32,000. That went to Dad's account. The total recovered by October was $41,000, not even half. But it was something. Dad's condition worsened in August, the congestive heart failure that had always been there, waiting. He was hospitalized briefly, discharged with stricter medication protocols, and the understanding that we were managing decline, not preventing it. I took family medical leave, stayed with him. We watched more westerns, played cards, talked about everything and nothing. September, he said, "I'm proud of you. The way you handled Easter, the way you built that case. You could have destroyed her publicly, could have filed charges, could have made it vicious. But you gave her a choice. That takes strength. I'm not sure I would have had." "I learned it from you," I said. "You taught me that being right isn't the same as being cruel." Did I? I don't remember being that wise. You were. You are. Rebecca stopped requesting visits after October. Sent a letter instead. Single page. Single sentence. "I'm sorry I stole your father from you. I can never give that back." She was right. She couldn't. January 8th, 2026. Dad's heart gave its final warning. Severe chest pain. Shortness of breath even with oxygen. I called 911, but I knew. He knew. "No hospital," he said. "Please, I'm done fighting." I called hospice. They came within 2 hours. Set up equipment in my apartment. Made him comfortable. He was lucid that last day. Remarkably clear for someone whose heart was failing. We talked. About Mom. She made mistakes. But she lost too. She lost you. Lost me. Lost the truth. That's punishment enough. About Rebecca. She'll have to live with what she did. That's worse than any legal consequence. About me. You were always the strong one. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. And then, late afternoon, light fading outside my windows, the city sounds of Chicago muted and distant. "Don't let this make you bitter, Anna. You got 6 years stolen. Don't give her the rest of your life, too." "I won't, Dad. I promise." "And your mom. She made mistakes. But she lost, too. She lost you. Lost me. Lost the truth. That's punishment enough. I'll think about it." He smiled. Closed his eyes. His breathing slowed. I held his hand. The same hand that had taught me to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to sign my name in cursive. The hand that had signed legal documents and trusted the wrong daughter and never stopped being my father even when he didn't know I was still his. He passed at 4:22 a.m., January 9th, 2026. Peaceful. Not alone. Not confused about who loved him. I called Uncle Mark first, then Aunt Jenna, Patricia third, Rebecca last. The funeral was on a cold January morning in Oak Park, the same town where I'd grown up, where I'd been erased from family photos, where I'd stood on the porch 6 years earlier and been turned away. Rebecca came, stood in the back, didn't approach me, left before the reception. Mom tried to hug me. I let her, briefly. Didn't return it with any warmth. We weren't there yet. Maybe we never would be. Uncle Mark gave the eulogy, talked about integrity, about truth, about the importance of questioning narratives we're handed. He didn't mention Rebecca by name. He didn't have to. We buried Dad next to his parents in the Oak Park Cemetery. The headstone read, James Michael Whitfield, February 14th, 1960 to January 9th, 2026. Beloved Father, the truth will stand. I'd chosen those words carefully. 3 weeks later, Rebecca's letter arrived. Single page. 1 sentence. I almost threw it away, but I opened it. I'm sorry I stole your father from you. I can never give that back. She was right. She couldn't. I keep that letter in a drawer with the 63 letters I'd sent Dad. Evidence of 2 very different kinds of persistence. His box of letters? Proof I never stopped trying. Her 1 letter? Proof she finally understood what she'd destroyed. I don't know if I'll ever forgive Rebecca. I don't know if I'll ever speak to my mother beyond holidays and obligatory calls. I don't know if the family will ever really recover. What I do know, I have the recipe card hanging in my kitchen. I have the briefcase that held the truth, retired now to my closet but never forgotten. I have 8 months of Sundays that no one can take from me. I have the knowledge that when it mattered most, when I was standing in that dining room with 22 people who believed I was a thief, I didn't flinch. I'd prepared, I'd documented, I'd waited, and I'd won. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted my father to know the truth before he died. I got that. Barely, but I got it. 3 months after the funeral, I was cleaning out Dad's things from my spare bedroom. Found something tucked into the brown jacket pocket, the one I'd given him for his 60th birthday. A photo. Me and him at my law school graduation. Both of us smiling. His arm around my shoulders. On the back, in his handwriting, Anna Whitfield, Esquire, June 2016, the good one. He'd carried it with him to Easter dinner, carried it through 6 years of Rebecca's lies, carried it not knowing if he'd ever see me again, but keeping the proof that once, we'd been happy. I framed that too. Last week, I took a new case. Elderly woman, 81, whose son has been systematically isolating her from her daughter. Classic financial exploitation pattern. The daughter came to my office with 6 months of documentation, blocked calls, returned letters. A mother who supposedly doesn't want contact, but whose behavior doesn't match the story. I looked at her evidence and saw my own face from 7 years ago. We're going to build a case, I told her. Document everything. Stay patient. The truth always surfaces. It just takes time. She asked me how I knew. I showed her the photo on my desk. Me and Dad. The law school graduation. The good one. Because I've been where you are, I said, and I got my father back. We're going to get yours back too. That's the kind of justice that doesn't need applause. It doesn't need public confession or viral vindication or revenge served cold. It just needs truth, documentation, patience, and the belief that somewhere, under 6 years of lies, or 6 months, or 60, there's a person who loves you and never stopped. They were just hidden. I found my way back to mine. 8 months. Lasagna recipes. Sunday westerns. Letters finally read. Truth finally spoken. It wasn't enough time. It would never have been enough time. But it was real. And that's the kind of justice I can live with.